Most men will never admit it, but deep down they know they're stuck. Stuck in the same cycle: wake up, work, pay bills, and repeat. They talk about wanting success, but if talk made people rich, everyone would be a millionaire. The truth is brutal: most men will stay broke. Not because they're not smart, not because they don't have potential, but because they refuse to do the hard things that wealth demands. Now here's the kicker: being broke is not a financial condition. It's a mental one. And until a man changes the way he thinks, he will keep living the same life, year after year, paycheck to paycheck, wondering why nothing ever changes. If you're tired of the cycle, if you're ready to face the uncomfortable truths that most avoid, then this message is for you. Let's uncover the real reasons why most men will stay broke, and how you can make sure you're not one of them. Most men will stay broke because they never learn to take full responsibility for their lives. They live as though external forces are in control, as if their fate is sealed by the actions of others or by circumstances they can't control. But the harsh truth is, the moment you refuse to take responsibility, you give away your power. You hand it over to the economy, your boss, your upbringing, or even to bad luck. And in doing so, you guarantee that nothing will ever change. Brian Tracy has said that taking full responsibility for your life is the starting point of all success. It's the single most important mental shift a person can make. When a man truly understands that everything in his life, his income, his health, his relationships, his daily habits, is a result of his own past choices, he begins to awaken to the incredible power he holds. He stops playing the victim, he stops waiting for rescue, and he starts making different decisions. The problem is, taking responsibility is uncomfortable. It means admitting that the reason you're in debt isn't because of the system, it's because you chose not to learn about money. The reason you're stuck in a dead-end job isn't because your boss doesn't recognize your value. It's because you haven't built enough value. The reason your life isn't moving forward is because you haven't moved forward. That kind of brutal honesty is painful. It stings. But it's also the first sign of growth. Most men avoid that discomfort. They wrap themselves in stories. They say things like, "I didn't get the same opportunities," or "My parents never taught me about money," or "I can't afford to take that risk." And while those stories might feel real, they are just that, stories. Excuses dressed up as explanations. And as long as you believe those stories, you'll keep living under the ceiling they create. Every successful man has faced challenges. Many started with less than nothing. Some were buried in debt. Others were homeless. But what separates them from the rest is that they decided they were in control. They said, "This may not be my fault, but it's my responsibility." And that's a powerful distinction. It means you can't always control what happens to you, but you are always in control of how you respond. When you adopt that mindset, you stop waiting, you stop blaming, you stop hoping for a miracle. Instead, you take action, you study, you plan, you save, you learn from your mistakes. And most importantly, you stop seeing failure as a dead end. You see it as feedback. Every setback becomes a signal, an opportunity to adjust, improve, and try again. Responsibility isn't about guilt or self-blame. It's about ownership. It's the difference between drifting and driving, between being reactive and proactive. A man who takes responsibility wakes up with purpose. He doesn't wait for someone to fix his life. He becomes the builder of it. And the ironic part is, the moment you stop blaming external forces, those forces start to lose their grip. Life begins to respond to you differently. People trust you more. Opportunities show up. Discipline strengthens. And over time, your results change because you changed. But most men never reach that point. They spend their lives pointing fingers, waiting for the perfect opportunity, or worse, resenting those who took action. They say things like, "He just got lucky," or "Hey, had connections," never realizing that those who succeed are usually the ones who earn their opportunities through years of effort that no one saw. The shift from blame to responsibility is subtle, but it's everything. When a man says, "This is on me," he's not just accepting the past, he's claiming the future. And in that moment, something powerful happens. He stops being a victim of circumstance and becomes the architect of his life. Most men stay broke because they never make that shift. They keep waiting for permission, for justice, for fairness. But life doesn't reward people who wait. It rewards those who act. Most men stay broke because they never invest in themselves. They spend their entire lives trading time for money, but never stop to ask how they can increase the value of their time. They work hard, but they work without leverage. They seek comfort instead of growth, and they think that just doing a job is enough to guarantee financial security. But in today's world, it isn't. The market doesn't reward effort, it rewards value. And the only way to become more valuable is to continuously invest in your own growth, your own skills, and your own mindset. Brian Tracy teaches that lifelong learning is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Your income is directly tied to your level of competence in the marketplace. If you are earning average money, it's because you are offering average value. And no one is coming to change that for you. No boss is going to knock on your door and say, "Here, take more money just because." That's not how it works. If you want to earn more, you must become more. You must develop the kind of skills that few people have. You must think differently. You must work on yourself harder than you work on your job. But the majority of men don't see this. They stop learning the moment they graduate from school. They spend their evenings watching TV or scrolling social media, and then they wonder why they're stuck. They'll spend money on gadgets, entertainment, and instant gratification, but they hesitate to buy a book, attend a seminar, or take an online course. They treat self-education like an expense instead of the highest return investment they could ever make. And that's why they stay where they are. There's a reason why the wealthiest people in the world are also the most committed learners. They read constantly. They study their industries. They listen to audio programs. They seek out mentors. They are obsessed with growth because they understand that every new insight, every refined skill, and every improved mindset increases their earning potential. They're not trying to get rich quick. They're trying to become the kind of person who deserves to be rich. Brian Tracy often says, if you read just one book per month on your chosen field, in 5 years you'll be among the top experts in that field. That is not an exaggeration. Most people won't even read one book per year, let alone per month. So imagine the compound advantage you gain just by making self-education a daily habit. In 10 minutes a day, you can start separating yourself from the pack. In 30 minutes a day, you can begin to rewire your thinking. In one focused hour a day, you can change your entire future. But it takes discipline. It takes the humility to admit that you don't know everything. It takes the courage to stretch beyond your current limits. Investing in yourself often feels uncomfortable at first. You'll have to give up short-term pleasures. You'll have to sit in silence and reflect. You'll have to struggle through new ideas. But that struggle is where transformation lies. And every step you take toward personal growth puts you in a better position to create wealth, not just financially, but in every area of life. And it's not just about books or courses. Investing in yourself means mastering your habits, managing your time, learning how to think critically, communicate effectively, and make better decisions. It means upgrading your network, seeking out high-level conversations, and being willing to be the dumbest person in the room so you can grow. It means tracking your results, being brutally honest with yourself, and refusing to settle for mediocrity. The world is changing fast. Industries rise and fall. Jobs become obsolete. Technology evolves every day. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. There is no neutral ground anymore. You're either advancing or declining. And the market doesn't care how long you've been working or how hard you try. It only cares how much value you bring. That value is something you have to build. No one will do it for you. Most men stay broke because they never make this shift. They hope for a raise. They complain about inflation. They wait for someone else to come solve their problems. But the men who build wealth understand that the answer has always been the same: become more valuable. And the way you do that is simple. Invest in yourself every single day. Most men stay broke because they fear risk more than they fear regret. They are so afraid of failure, judgment, and discomfort that they choose safety over opportunity every single time. And the irony is, that very choice, the one that feels safe in the moment, is the one that guarantees long-term struggle. They would rather be comfortable in mediocrity than temporarily uncomfortable in growth. They avoid risk as if it's a threat, when in reality, it's the only bridge to freedom. The average man has been conditioned to believe that the safest path is the smartest one. Get a secure job, don't rock the boat, follow the rules, and save what you can. But what they don't realize is that in today's economy, safety is an illusion. The world is moving fast. Entire industries are being disrupted. Companies are laying off thousands without warning. And yet, most men are still clinging to the idea that if they just play it safe, everything will somehow work out. But it won't. Playing it safe is the most dangerous thing you can do. Brian Tracy teaches that all success involves risk. You cannot grow, earn, or evolve without stepping into the unknown. The most successful men in history, the entrepreneurs, the innovators, the leaders, they all took risks. Not reckless gambles, but calculated, intelligent, courageous steps forward into uncertainty. They knew they might fail. They knew the road would be difficult. But they moved anyway. Because they feared a life of what if, far more than they feared failure. The fear of failure is one of the most paralyzing forces in the human mind. It keeps people stuck in jobs they hate, relationships that don't serve them, and lives that feel small. It convinces them that trying and failing is worse than not trying at all. But what those people don't see is that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every man who has achieved anything significant has failed. Often, publicly, painfully. But he used that failure as fuel. He extracted the lesson and used it to make better decisions. He didn't let fear stop him, he let it shape him. The truth is, most men don't really fear failure itself. They fear what failure will make them feel: embarrassment, shame, judgment. They fear how they'll look. They fear being laughed at. But the deeper fear is this: they're afraid to see themselves as inadequate. They're afraid to try and discover that they weren't good enough. And so, to protect themselves from that pain, they never try at all. They build entire identities around avoidance. They become experts in staying small. But what they don't realize is that the pain of not trying is far worse than the pain of failure. Regret lasts longer. It haunts you. It keeps you up at night wondering what could have been, the opportunities you didn't take, the chances you ignored, the ideas you let die. One day, you'll look back, and the fear you once felt will seem so small compared to the life you missed out on. Risk is not something to avoid. It is something to study, understand, and embrace. Every great reward requires some level of risk. Want to start a business? You'll risk time, energy, maybe even money. Want to become financially independent? You'll risk failure and judgment. Want to change your life? You'll risk comfort, predictability, and the approval of others. But the alternative, staying broke, stuck, and unfulfilled, is far more dangerous. Because you're not just risking money, you're risking your potential. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward in spite of it. It's looking fear in the face and saying, "You don't control me." And when you do that, something shifts. You realize that most of what you feared was just smoke, an illusion your mind created. And beyond that illusion is everything you've ever wanted. Most men don't experience that realization because they never give themselves the chance. They hesitate, they overthink. They wait for permission. And while they're waiting, life moves on, the years pass, and the cost of inaction begins to build, not just in finances but in self-respect. Every time you let fear win, you reinforce the belief that you're not capable. And that belief becomes your identity. The men who rise financially are not the ones who never feel fear. They're the ones who've learned to dance with it. They understand that risk is the entry price of growth, and they're willing to pay it, not recklessly, but deliberately. And every time they do, they get stronger, smarter, and wealthier. Most men stay broke because they surround themselves with the wrong people. It's one of the most overlooked, but deeply powerful truths about success. The people you associate with have a direct and measurable impact on your thinking, your habits, your self-image, and ultimately your income. If the men around you are lazy, negative, reactive, or filled with self-doubt, it is only a matter of time before those same traits start showing up in you. You cannot immerse yourself in mediocrity and expect excellence to emerge. Brian Tracy calls this the law of association. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's not just a metaphor, it's a psychological and behavioral reality. Human beings are wired for imitation. We mirror the language, emotions, and behaviors of those around us, even when we're not conscious of it. If you're consistently around people who make excuses, avoid responsibility, and resist growth, you will slowly begin to adopt the same attitudes. And once your mindset is infected, your financial life follows. Look around. Who do you talk to every day? Who do you text, follow, and listen to? Are those people building you up or pulling you down? Are they stretching your thinking or shrinking it? Most men never stop to ask these questions. They choose their friendships by accident, shared history, shared hobbies, or sheer proximity. And while there's nothing wrong with loyalty or familiarity, if the people around you are not committed to growth, you are tying yourself to dead weight. This is especially dangerous because it's subtle. When your circle normalizes small thinking, you start thinking small. When they ridicule ambition, you begin to suppress yours. When they spend money impulsively, you start justifying your own poor financial choices. It becomes difficult to see the water you're swimming in, especially when you've never stepped outside of it. You may not even realize how low the ceiling is until you meet someone who has shattered it. That's why every man who wants to escape financial struggle must examine his environment with ruthless honesty. If you are the most driven, disciplined, or ambitious person in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. Growth requires friction. It requires tension. You need to be around people who challenge your assumptions, question your laziness, and push you to level up, not through criticism but through example. Just being in the presence of high-performance individuals changes you. It raises your standards. It forces you to confront what you've been tolerating in your own life. This doesn't mean you abandon everyone who isn't successful, but it does mean you protect your mental space with intention. You curate what you consume. You limit your time with those who drain you and increase your exposure to those who inspire you. Sometimes that means listening to podcasts by people who think at a higher level. Sometimes it means joining a mastermind group or community of entrepreneurs. Sometimes it means investing in a mentor who sees in you what you haven't yet seen in yourself. Your environment isn't just physical, it's emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. It shapes the conversations you have, the ideas you entertain, the goals you set, and the beliefs you hold. If the dominant energy around you is apathy, gossip, fear, or complacency, it will be nearly impossible to grow wealth. But if the energy around you is drive, clarity, discipline, and ambition, those qualities will begin to take root in you. One of the most financially dangerous decisions a man can make is to stay loyal to people who are committed to staying stuck. Misplaced loyalty has killed more dreams than failure ever has. And often, the people you have to distance yourself from aren't bad people, they're just not going where you want to go. They're comfortable where they are, and they want you to be comfortable too. Because the moment you start to rise, it reminds them of their own stagnation. And not everyone handles that reminder with grace. Breaking free from the wrong circle doesn't always require confrontation. Sometimes it's as simple as changing your routine. Spend less time in environments that numb your ambition. Seek out rooms where your goals are considered normal, not extreme. Make space in your life for new connections by letting go of the ones that are holding you back. When you do that, you'll notice something powerful. Your thoughts will start to shift. Your language will become sharper. Your focus will deepen. And your decisions, financial, personal, and professional, will begin to reflect the new standard you've chosen to live by. Most men never experience this transformation because they're too attached to familiarity. They don't want to feel alone. But in avoiding loneliness, they accept limitation. They sacrifice greatness for company. And that decision, repeated over time, keeps them broke, not just financially, but mentally and spiritually. Most men stay broke because they lack a clear vision and definite goals. They drift through life without direction, without a target, and without a plan. They wake up each day reacting to whatever comes their way, rather than deliberately shaping their future. They confuse motion with progress, staying busy with tasks that have no long-term payoff. And because they have no clear destination, they end up wherever the tide of life takes them, usually somewhere they never intended to be. Brian Tracy has often said that success is goals and all else is commentary. This isn't just motivational talk, it's rooted in deep psychological truth. Human beings are goal-seeking organisms. The mind operates like a missile system. Without a target, it wanders, it loses energy, it becomes distracted by noise, by circumstances, by other people's agendas. But with a clear and compelling goal, the mind begins to organize itself. It becomes focused, disciplined, and resilient. It starts filtering information differently. It becomes alert to opportunities that align with the mission. Most men don't experience this level of mental alignment because they never set goals in the first place. Or if they do, their goals are vague and uninspiring. I want to make more money is not a goal, it's a wish. I want to be rich someday is not a plan, it's a fantasy. Real goals are specific, measurable, time-bound, and emotionally compelling. They are written down, reviewed daily, and backed by a strategy. Without this level of clarity, action becomes scattered, inconsistent, and ineffective. And it's not just about writing down goals for the sake of productivity, it's about developing a vision. A vivid, emotionally charged picture of the life you want to live. Most men never do this work. They don't take the time to ask, what kind of man do I want to become? What does my ideal life look like? What income level will support that life? What kind of daily routine will get me there? These are the questions that build direction. Without them, a man becomes reactive. He works hard, but toward nothing specific. He makes money, but it leaks away. He experiences time passing, but not progress unfolding. Having a clear vision isn't just practical. It's psychological fuel. It gives your actions meaning. It gives your pain a purpose. When you know why you're grinding, the late nights and early mornings stop feeling like sacrifice and start feeling like investment. Most men give up not because they're weak, but because they don't see the point. Without a vision, they have no reason to persist when things get hard. But when a man is emotionally connected to a goal that matters to him, he becomes almost unstoppable. Obstacles become puzzles. Delays become preparation. Failures become feedback. Clarity also makes decision-making easier. When you know exactly where you want to go, you can immediately filter out what doesn't belong. You stop chasing every shiny object. You stop saying yes to things that pull you off course. You stop wasting time with people and activities that don't align with your mission. This kind of clarity creates momentum, and momentum, when sustained over time, creates results. Most men underestimate what they can accomplish in a year with focused, intentional effort. They think they need decades to change their lives, when in reality, one clear goal, pursued with obsession, can alter everything. But clarity must come first. You cannot build wealth by accident. You cannot stumble your way into freedom. You have to define it, see it, commit to it, and then take daily, disciplined action in its direction. That daily piece is critical. You don't hit your goals in one grand leap. You get there through repetition, daily visualization, daily effort, daily tracking. The goal must become part of your identity. You must begin to see yourself as the man who already has the result and then act accordingly. This is how real change happens from the inside out. Unfortunately, most men never experience this transformation. They let life happen to them. They rely on luck, on timing, or on vague hopes that things will just work out someday. But someday never comes, because time rewards clarity and punishes confusion. If you don't know what you want, you will be used by those who do. You'll find yourself building other people's dreams instead of your own. And the worst part, you may not even realize it until it's too late. Here's the truth: most men will stay broke, not because of their circumstances, but because of their choices. And you're either making decisions that lead to freedom or to frustration. The question is, which man will you be? You have two options right now. You can dismiss this. Say, that was interesting, and go back to the same habits, the same people, the same paycheck, and the same future. Or you can draw a line in the sand. Decide that enough is enough. That you will take full responsibility, that you will invest in yourself, that you will face your fears, that you will upgrade your circle, and that you will build a vision so strong that nothing can distract you from it. Most men will stay broke. But you don't have to. Now is your time, not tomorrow. Not next year, right now. Take the first step. Start today. Because wealth doesn't begin in your bank account, it begins in your mind.